This story can change the way you see your life. One decision changed everything. Many people believe that saving money is the only way to grow. But today, you will hear an inspirational story about how a man learned the power of spending money wisely, and how it gave him money back, happiness back, and life back. This is not just a motivational story. This is a life-changing success journey about courage, trust, and the mindset that can turn struggles into strength. The story begins with a man named Adil. He grew up in a small town where life was tough. His father worked hard, but money was always short. Bills piled up. Dreams stayed locked away. Adil often thought, if only I had more money, life would be easier. Like many people, he believed money only goes out and never comes back. So he kept saving every coin, holding on tightly, afraid to spend even on things that mattered. But here's the problem. Saving alone didn't change anything. He was still struggling. He was still unhappy. He was still living with fear. He had no investment, no opportunities, and no growth. His savings were just numbers in a box, not a path to freedom. One day, everything shifted. Adil met an old teacher in the market. The teacher looked at him and said, "You're holding on too tight. You think money is your prison, but money is a tool. If you use it wisely, it will come back to you. Spend money on learning. Spend money on building. Spend money on value. That's how you get more money back." At first, Adil didn't believe it. It sounded risky. He thought, what if I lose everything? What if nothing comes back? But deep inside, something clicked. He realized that fear had controlled him for too long. So he made a small decision that would change his life. He spent a little money, not on things, not on comfort, but on knowledge. He bought a second-hand course about business. It was cheap, but it was a start. He studied late at night, page after page, word after word. Slowly, he began to see the bigger picture. Money is not the enemy, it's energy. If you invest it in yourself, it grows. But just when he thought things were improving, a big problem hit. His family needed urgent help. Medical bills came like a storm. The little savings he had were gone in weeks. Adil felt broken. He thought his journey was over. He cried alone, thinking, why me? Why now? Maybe everyone was right. Maybe I should never have tried. This was his lowest point. He had no money, no hope, no future. But deep inside, he remembered the words of his teacher. Spend money on building value and it will return. Even in that darkness, he refused to give up. He said to himself, I will fight. I will rise. I will make this pain my fuel. And that's the turning point of our inspirational story. Adil took his last small amount of money and instead of saving it or hiding it, he used it as seed. He started something tiny, just a little idea, a little project, a little risk. People laughed at him, but he kept going. This is where the real journey begins. The story of how money came back, stronger than before. The story of how struggles became lessons. The story of how fear turned into power. Because here's the powerful life lesson. When you spend money wisely, on learning, on growth, on building, you don't lose it. You multiply it. You don't waste it. You invest it. And life always gives back to those who invest in themselves. This was only the beginning of Adil's journey. In part 2, you'll see how that tiny step turned into a powerful success story that no one expected. If this inspirational story gave you hope, remember this: never give up. Your struggles are not the end. They are the beginning. Share this story with someone who needs motivation today, and stay with me for part 2 of this life-changing success journey. Adil had taken the first brave step. He had spent his last small amount of money not on comfort, not on safety, but on creating something new. It was risky, it was scary, and it was uncertain. But he believed that if he invested in value, if he built something that could help others, somehow life would return that money back to him. At first, it was not easy. He started a small service, helping people in his town with simple business needs. He didn't have an office, he didn't have equipment, he didn't even have proper clothes to look professional. All he had was a second-hand laptop, some knowledge from the books he studied, and a heart full of determination. But here's the truth about every inspirational story. The beginning is always the hardest. He walked door to door offering his services, but people rejected him. Some laughed, some ignored him, some even told him, "Why don't you just get a normal job and stop wasting your time?" Every rejection cut him like a knife. He felt embarrassed, he felt small, but instead of quitting, he turned every no into fuel. He said to himself, "Every great success journey starts with rejection. Every powerful life lesson comes from failure. I will not stop. I will never give up." Weeks passed, then months, and still no real income. His family worried. His friends doubted him. But Adil kept learning, kept improving, and kept believing. He remembered the lesson: spend money on value. So even when he earned a little, he invested it again, buying better tools, improving his skills, and building trust with people. Finally, one day, his hard work paid off. A small shopkeeper gave him a chance. The shopkeeper said, "I don't have much money, but if you can help my business grow, I'll pay you." That was Adil's first real opportunity. He worked day and night for that one client. He gave more than what was asked. He poured his heart into it. And slowly, the shopkeeper's business started growing. The shopkeeper was amazed. He told other people in town, "This young man can help you too." Suddenly, Adil was not chasing opportunities. Opportunities were chasing him. His little service grew. His name spread. He started earning more than he ever imagined. And here's the powerful truth. The money he had once spent in fear now started coming back to him, multiplied. But success is never a straight line. Just when things seemed stable, a crisis hit. One of his biggest clients failed to pay him. All his savings disappeared in covering the loss. He was back to almost nothing. His family was disappointed again, and once more he stood at the edge of failure. This was the moment most people quit. But Adil remembered the old teacher's words. He reminded himself, "Money is energy. If I invest in value, it will return. If I give up, I will lose forever. If I keep going, I will rise again." So instead of holding back, He did the opposite. He reinvested. He took a bold step and used his little remaining money to expand. People thought he was crazy, but he trusted the process. He trusted himself. And slowly, things began to change again. His small idea turned into a growing business. His reputation spread beyond his town. People from nearby cities started reaching out to him. His work was making a difference. His life was transforming. And here lies the second powerful life lesson of this inspirational journey. True success is not about never falling. True success is about rising every time you fall. Every struggle, every setback, every rejection is not the end. It is training. It is preparation. It is building your strength for something bigger. Adil was learning this truth step by step. He discovered that money flows like water. It comes, it goes, but if you channel it wisely, it always returns stronger. And by using money to build value, he was not just building wealth, he was building respect, trust, and impact. This was no longer just about money. It was about growth. It was about purpose. It was about proving that with the right mindset, anyone can overcome struggles and write their own success journey. But the story doesn't end here. In fact, the most dramatic part of Adil's life is yet to come. Because soon, he would face a challenge that would test everything he had learned. The biggest risk of his life, the biggest decision of his journey, and the one choice that would either break him or make him unstoppable. That is what we will explore in part 3 of this motivational story. If this story gave you hope, remember this: never give up, no matter how many times you fall. Share this with someone who needs. Every success journey has a final test. For Adil, that test came at the height of his growth. His small business had expanded. His name was spreading. People trusted him. For the first time in his life, he felt proud of himself. He was earning money, supporting his family, and even saving for the future. But life has a way of testing those who are about to rise higher. One day, Adil was invited to join a much bigger project. It was an opportunity that could change everything. If successful, it would take him from a small-town businessman to a respected entrepreneur in the entire region. But it came with a price. He would have to risk almost everything he had earned so far. It wasn't an easy choice. His family begged him not to take the risk. His friends told him he was crazy. Even his own heart was filled with fear. He thought, what if I lose it all? What if this time the money never comes back? For nights, he couldn't sleep. He walked in circles, torn between safety and risk, between fear and faith. And then, one night, he remembered the old teacher's words. Money is a tool. If you use it to create value, it will return. Those words lit a fire in him. He realized that every step of his journey had followed the same rule. When he invested in himself, in learning, in building, the money always returned stronger. He had lost before, but every loss had prepared him for something greater. So he made his decision. With courage in his heart, he invested almost everything into the big project. It was the boldest step of his life. The beginning was terrifying. There were delays, mistakes, and unexpected problems. People around him started doubting again. Some said, "This time he has gone too far." Even Adil's own faith began to shake. He thought about quitting more than once. But then, he looked back at his journey. He remembered the poverty he came from, the rejections he faced, the nights he cried, and the lessons he learned. And he said to himself, "I will not stop here. I will not waste my pain. I will not quit." So he worked harder than ever before. Day and night, he poured everything into the project. He didn't just invest money, he invested his soul. Slowly, results began to show. Customers started coming. Partners began trusting him. His idea grew stronger, and his project began to succeed. And then it happened. The risk turned into reward. The money he had feared losing came back, not just equal, but multiplied many times over. The boy who once feared spending a single coin now owned something bigger than he had ever imagined. He was no longer just surviving, he was thriving. His family, once worried, now looked at him with pride. His friends, once doubtful, now came to him for advice. His town, once a place of struggle, now saw him as a source of hope. And here lies the final, most powerful life lesson of this inspirational story. Money itself does not make you rich. The courage to invest in yourself, in your growth, and in creating value. That is what makes you rich. Adil's success was not about luck. It was not about magic. It was about mindset. He learned that money is energy. It flows, it returns, it multiplies when used wisely. He learned that setbacks are not the end, but stepping stones. He learned that when you never give up, when you rise after every fall, when you dare to spend money to build value, life always rewards you. This is not just Adil's journey. This can be your journey too. You may be struggling right now. You may be afraid of risk. You may feel that nothing is working. But remember, your struggles are not your prison. They are your preparation. Your failures are not your end. They are your teachers. And your money, when used with courage and wisdom, can be the tool that builds the life you dream of. So, my friend, never give up. Invest in yourself. Spend wisely, build value, trust the process, and believe that whatever you give with courage will always come back to you. Bigger, stronger, and better. This was the life-changing inspirational journey of Adil, the boy who discovered the power of money by learning to spend it wisely. If this motivational story inspired you, share it with someone who needs hope today. And remember, your success journey starts not when you hold on, but when you let go of fear and invest in your future. That is the powerful life lesson Adil's story gives to all of us.